The Percy Jackson movies were supposed to be the next Harry Potter. Instead, they became one of Hollywood's biggest missed opportunities. But the new Percy Jackson show isn't just different from the movies. It's basically doing everything the films refused to do. And when you find out what actually went down behind the scenes with those movies, you're going to understand why the show is rated better. In the movies, 18-year-old Logan Lerman played Percy Jackson, 23-year-old Alexandra Daddario portrayed Annabeth, and 25-year-old Brandon T. Jackson played Grover. However, the problem wasn't just that they cast adults to play 12-year-olds, but how it completely changed the entire story. It felt like watching adults stumble through a quest. But in the Percy Jackson show, Walker Scobell is actually 14 years old, playing a 12-year-old Percy. Leah Sava-Jeffries and Arian Simhadri are the right ages too, and that changes everything because they are kids who have just discovered their demigods, not young adults who should probably know better by now. But here's the wild part. There's a reason the movies made all these terrible choices, and when you find out what the author was actually saying behind the scenes, it's going to shock you to the bones. Before we get to that, another key difference is that the books are famous for Percy's internal monologue, which gives a sarcastic commentary on literally everything happening around him. Disappointingly, the movies stripped away all that to make Percy seem more mature and brooding. In the films, Percy used direct insults and aggression. He called Smelly Gabe a bald-headed freak to his face, which is just not Percy. Percy in the book would have a witty internal comeback while staying quiet externally. The show nails this. Walker Scobell brings that humor that made the book so addictive to read. He's got the charm and the snark without losing the heart of the character. Interestingly enough, someone tried to warn the studio that stripping Percy's humor would be a disaster, but we'll get to that absolute mess in a minute. Also in the books, Grover is shy, nervous, and loves nature more than anything. He's the emotional heart of the trio, and in the movies, they turned him into someone who's overly interested in women with an affinity for gambling. Grover was hitting on girls and acting like some satyr playboy in the movies, which was so far from the character that fans genuinely didn't recognize him. The show brings back Grover, everyone's beloved, who's anxious, caring, loyal to a fault, and actually interested in protecting nature rather than women. It gets worse in the movies, as they fall into the classic Hollywood trap in which the female character exists only to support the male lead and look attractive while doing so. Annabeth in the movie was overconfident, sometimes mean, and spent half her scenes smirking at Percy in this weird mix of flirtatious and condescending. Her strategic mind got reduced to basically explaining Greek myths after the group already faced the monster. The show fixes this immediately. Annabeth's intelligence drives the plot forward, where her quick thinking saves them multiple times. She's not just smart in the show, she's the smartest person in the room, and she's also not reduced to being Percy's crush. She's a fully realized character with her own motivations and arc. However, none of these character destructions were accidents. The author knew exactly what was happening, and what he did to try to stop it is absolutely insane, as we'll see soon. In the movies, there's this iconic scene of Percy, Annabeth, and Grover getting completely lost in the Lotus Casino, dancing to Lady Gaga's Poker Face. It's fun, but it makes the characters look clueless. In the show, the kids know about the casino's magic from their knowledge of mythology. They're not stumbling in blind, but on purpose to meet Hermes and get transportation. The casino is still dangerous and tricky, but our heroes aren't idiots. They're prepared, which keeps the tension high while respecting the characters' intelligence. However, here's where the show takes a massive risk that pays off. In the book and the movie, Percy makes it back before the summer solstice deadline, averting the crisis at the last second. But in the show, they miss the deadline. When that happened, fans had to pause and rewind because suddenly the entire plot could go in a completely different direction. It adds real stakes and consequences that the movie never dared to include. In the books and movies, the gang walks into Auntie M's garden and gets shocked when they realize it's Medusa. In the show, Annabeth figures it out immediately. Some fans worried this was giving Annabeth the Hermione treatment, where she's never wrong and always knows everything. But here's the difference. The show uses Annabeth's knowledge to create different tension. It's not about the surprise of who Medusa is, it's about what they do with that knowledge. The conflict becomes more interesting, not less. But the craziest thing about all these differences is that there's actually someone who predicted every single failure of the movies before they even came out, and the studio completely ignored him. And as we get closer to that, it's essential to know that one of the worst changes in the Lightning Thief movie was cutting out Ares completely. In the books, Ares is basically the real Lightning Thief working with Luke. He's crucial to the plot, and the movies just removed him. The show brings Ares back, and his presence adds layers to the story that the movie completely missed. The real story behind why the movies failed isn't just about bad creative choices. It's about what happened when someone tried to save them, which we will now explore. Here's what most people don't know. Rick Riordan hated the Percy Jackson movies, as he didn't just dislike them, he actively tried to stop them from being made the way they were. Back in January 2009, when Riordan heard the studio plan to age up the characters from 12 to 17, he sent an email to the producers. In it, he wrote something that should have been a massive red flag. This kills any possibility of a movie franchise. He explained that the entire series is built around Percy progressing from age 12 to 16 when he must decide whether to save or destroy the world. Starting him at 17 makes the rest of the series impossible to film. The studio ignored him. They made the characters older anyway, and guess what? The franchise died after 2 movies. But it gets even more brutal. In March 2009, after reading the whole script, Riordan sent another email. This time, he didn't hold back. He wrote, "The script as a whole is terrible. Even if you pretend the book doesn't exist, this script doesn't work as a story in its own right." Riordan listed specific problems. The plot was so badly chopped up that it no longer held together. They tried to make it edgier with unnecessary swearing that felt like a lazy attempt to please teens, but the core audience of 9 to 12-year-olds would be alienated immediately. Then Riordan did something incredible. He offered to rewrite the entire script himself for free. He said he could make it work for both fans and general audiences. The studio rejected his offer. They kept the terrible script, and when the movie was released in 2010, it grossed $227 million on a $95 million budget, but it fell short of expectations. The sequel did even worse. Then the franchise died. Years later, Riordan described the experience most devastatingly. A fan tweeted that it was refreshing how much Riordan hated the movies, even more than the fans did. Riordan replied, "Well, to you guys, it's a couple hours entertainment. To me, it's my life's work going through a meat grinder when I pleaded with them not to do it." Riordan has also admitted he's never watched the movies in their entirety. He refuses to. When the film started streaming on Disney Plus, he tweeted that they should show 2 hours of a blank screen instead. And that's a big difference from the show. When Disney acquired Fox and got the Percy Jackson rights, it took multiple meetings with different executives before Riordan agreed to come on board. This time, he insisted on 2 things. First, it had to be a TV series, not a movie. He knew the books needed more time to breathe. Second, he had to be heavily involved, and Disney said yes. Riordan is now an executive producer and writer on the show. He's in every decision. He's promoting it enthusiastically on social media. He's making behind-the-scenes videos. The cast talks about how present he is on set, which is the complete opposite of how he was treated in the movies, where he was shut out and ignored. But that's not all. The Percy Jackson books are relentlessly fun. They balance absurdity and realism perfectly. There's humor in every chapter. The movies sucked all the joy out in an attempt to seem more mature. They made everything dark and serious and lifeless. The show brings back that fun tone. From depicting the Minotaur in his characteristic tighty-whities to keeping the absurd humor of the gods, the show isn't afraid to be weird and funny. It trusts the audience to handle Greek mythology that's both epic and ridiculous. Also, the movies tried to cram an entire book into 90 minutes. The show has 8 episodes, which averages a total of roughly 5 hours to tell the same story. More time means character development actually happens. Relationships build naturally. The kids can breathe between monster attacks. And for a story as complex as Percy Jackson, that time is essential. The producers have said this was their most significant advantage over the films, as they finally had room to do the story justice.